The Pokemon franchise has been a dominant force in entertainment for 25 years. Games, TV series, movies, toys, clothes, and trading cards have made Pokemon a franchise that rakes in billions of dollars every year. But it all started with a game for the Game Boy, one that combined turn-based RPG systems with creature collecting and created an absolute powerhouse of a gaming franchise. Pokemon has basically had the same gameplay structure across every mainline entry in the series as well, with the player controlling a child who sets out to be a Pokemon master. You get your starter Pokemon, follow routes to new cities while fighting off other Pokemon trainers, best the gym leader from each city until you reach the Elite Four and Pokemon Champion from a region, and eventually defeat them and become the Pokemon Champion yourself. If this all sounds familiar, you might have watched our review of Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl from back in November. As faithful remakes, those certainly gave us a great hit of nostalgia to a simpler time when Pokemon still felt like it was making leaps with its formula. The basics remained the same, but there was still new systems introduced within Generation 4 of the series. However, in the last few years, Pokemon has felt somewhat stagnant to a lot of players. Did Pokemon fans still purchase every new game? You bet. But there has definitely been a lack of a spark in recent years. All of that changed with the release of Pokémon Legends Arceus. Promising a whole new way for us to catch them all, Pokémon Legends Arceus takes the traditional formula and flips it completely upside down, promising vast open areas to explore, the option to hunt for and engage Pokemon your way, and a grand new adventure to take part in. Legends Arceus seemed like it was the semi-open world Pokemon game that many fans had asked Game Freak to make for years. But how exactly did Game Freak do? That's what we're here to discuss today. Hey everyone, I'm Christian, aka the PlatinumChin, and I'm here to bring you the 5/9 Gaming Direct review of Pokemon Legends Arceus. I've been a Pokemon fan since I was a kid, and the franchise still remains one of my favorites to this day. I mean, I'm the one who raved about Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl remakes a few months back, so you know I love me some Pokemon. But Pokemon Legends Arceus had a lot of people worried when they saw the first trailers. The graphics were nothing to write home about, and the action seemed a little slow. The biggest question everyone seemed to have was if Game Freak was really going to be able to make this new type of Pokemon fun to play. Well, let's talk about it because there's a lot to go over about Pokemon Legends Arceus. All things considered, the story in Pokemon Legends Arceus is far from groundbreaking. You play as a time traveler of sorts, a teenager who has been pulled through a hole in space and time. Can you see where this is going, Sinnoh fans? To help a region in the distant past learn to understand a world inhabited by Pokemon. The Hisui region is our playground for this, and it's full of a colorful cast of somewhat familiar characters. We see the obvious ancestors of some of the most famous characters from the Sinnoh region in Diamond and Pearl, and some characters that will obviously shape that region as it moves forward. These simple folk have not yet really begun to understand their place in the world and how to care for and work with Pokemon for the betterment of society. So after you prove yourself adept at catching Pokemon, you're tasked with helping the occupants of Jubilife Village and the surrounding area learn to form more complex symbiotic relationships with Pokemon. It's only then that you find out that certain large Pokemon that the citizens look to as some deities have become enraged and dangerous since your arrival. You, as a new recruit of the Survey Corps division of the Galaxy team, are tasked with calming these noble Pokemon that the citizens look to for protection and comfort out of their frenzied state. As you go through the 4 main areas, you come across many different groups of people that add to your pool of support in your journey. Irida, the leader of the Pearl clan, is a young woman who resides in the cold north and believes that a deity named Almighty Sinnoh created space. Adaman, a young man who leads the Diamond clan that resides in the marshy swamplands, believes that Almighty Sinnoh created time. As you go through your journey attempting to calm the noble Pokemon and navigate the fragile truce that exists between the Diamond and Pearl clans, you uncover more and more information about the Great Rift that caused your arrival, as well as the condition of the 5 noble Pokemon around the Hisui region. Upon realizing that you'll have to go to the top of Mount Coronet to deal with the Pokemon that was seen inside the ever-growing rift that dropped you from the sky, you find that the commander of the Galaxy team has double-crossed you, surprise, surprise, and wants you to put an end to the Pokemon itself. After a fierce battle, you convince him to let you handle the situation. You then head to the peak of the mountain and do battle with Palkia and Dialga, the order depending on which clan leader you decided to get help from at an earlier point in the story. There's also some good little post-game story bits that happen, but that surprise was so much fun that we want to leave that up to you to discover. Overall, the story itself isn't bad. But with all the other improvements and evolutions to the traditional Pokemon formula present in Legends Arceus, it is a little disappointing that there isn't any of that innovation here. The characters stand around and simply deliver their lines like actors in an amateur community theater presentation. The animations barely cover the range of emotions that the characters are supposed to be feeling, even at the most joyous or turbulent of times. It's really a shame how little we have seen in the way of character interaction improvement since Sword and Shield. Here, our character barely has any interaction with the others in the story, at least in a meaningful way. The characters talk at our character, and our character acts either surprised, confused, or determined, with 3 facial animations to match only those moods. There's some great little Easter eggs in here though, including finding out what happened to the temple at the top of Mount Coronet that we saw way back during our adventures in modern Sinnoh, and some other familiar places that might be recognizable to you Gen 4 faithfuls. However, ultimately, there's a lot missing for a game that made so many great strides in other areas. Contrary to popular opinion, the graphics in Pokémon Legends Arceus were never that much of a problem for us. People seem to have this opinion that the Switch should be able to keep up with the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, and that will never be the case. The hardware for the Switch will only allow for so much to be done, and while Breath of the Wild is a technical masterpiece that all other Switch titles are compared to, the Zelda team pulled off nothing short of sorcery for that game to look as good as it did and work as well as it did. I firmly don't think we will see another Switch game that looks that good outside of the upcoming sequel to Breath of the Wild. That being said, there are big trade-offs here that are happening in Legends Arceus, and while it's nothing that bothers me personally, it does merit some discussion. The environments in Legends Arceus could use a ton of polish if they are planning on a follow-up to this game. Now the trees are serviceable, but the textures on the ground and on the cliffside leave much to be desired. There's also a fair amount of pop-in when traveling large distances in a short amount of time, such as when riding a mount. There is a little more attention to detail when traveling to specific locations such as Jubilife Village or the Diamond and Pearl settlements. I assume that it's because these are smaller, more concentrated areas where they decided to focus their power. But we also see a lack of a lot of fine detail on things like the inside of caves, where you'd assume they might be able to save a little bit of processing power by not loading the surrounding area until you're near the exit. All that aside, the place where it truly counts is Pokemon, and they clearly spared no expense in terms of the processing power of the system when it comes to the Pokemon here in Legends Arceus. There are tons of new animations for the Pokemon themselves, whether it's when they come out of a Pokeball or when you're battling. Almost all battle animations have been improved. I mean, Hyper Beam is one of the most intense looking moves in the game, and it actually lives up to its name. Pokemon walking and idle animations are greatly improved as well, with each Pokemon having a different style that's all its own. While we're on the subject of Pokemon themselves, why don't we move into the most important part of Legends Arceus? So, we've talked a lot about the shortcomings of this game, with it not being the prettiest thing on the Switch and the story being mediocre. It might be hard to see any selling points. Well, let me tell you, the gameplay more than makes up for all the other shortcomings we've discussed so far. One of the biggest changes I've ever seen in a franchise, Pokemon Legends Arceus allows the players the freedom to go into one of 5 areas and explore it to their heart's content. While some of these areas are initially inaccessible, I'd say a good 75% of these large playable spaces are explorable right from the get-go, with no need for extra help from the various helper Pokemon that serve as mounts in this game. Each area has its own specific design, intended to give the player an idea of what Pokemon might be found in that particular zone. If you travel north to the snowy Alabaster Icelands, you can safely assume you'll find a hefty amount of ice Pokemon. If you travel to the coastal cliffs of the Cobalt Coastlands, you can expect to find a lot of flying and water Pokemon. Each zone being so open to exploration lets the player use their instincts to find their ways around and the best ways for them to hunt the Pokemon that they find. The first area, the Obsidian Fieldlands, allows the player to explore a small grassy field area before they are met with a bridge. You're forced to do a tutorial and reach a certain rank to cross the bridge. To rank up, you need to catch Pokemon and increase your Pokemon research level. If you decide to wander off to the open area to the right, you'll be met with some famous Pokemon wandering completely freely. You might spot a Ponyta in the field, which will run around and fluff its mane in the wind if it doesn't notice your presence. Or you might head closer to the water and notice some Buizel standing on the shore and keeping watch over the river nearby. Being noticed by a Buizel, though, might make it attack you, while on the other hand, if you're noticed by a Ponyta, you might see it flee. I decided to head left to check a few small areas tucked off near a cliff. After running into an Alpha Luxio, I decided to push back, but then noticed a small path right along the water that led around the high cliffside. I followed it and was unceremoniously greeted with the sight of an Alpha Snorlax, and I made a mental note I would be back for the Snorlax later. Sneaking past the behemoth, I discovered even more Pokemon: Abra, Mr. Mime, Luxray, and many more. I tried to catch as many as I could, and as often as I succeeded, I failed. This wasn't an easy feat, and it would clearly take me doing some leveling with my Cyndaquil to be able to fight these beasts to weaken them and make them easier to catch. One of the best features of the gameplay is that each Pokemon species has a different temperament, and it's up to the player to learn what that temperament is and how to best approach each species. Seeing Budew take in the sun rays or a Psyduck play in a small pond creates an experience that I've personally been waiting years to experience. Game Freak has created a living Pokemon world within Pokémon Legends Arceus, and it's up to the player to explore it. I don't want to get too far into the weeds, but suffice it to say, almost all of us here at 5-9 have put dozens of hours into the game, and there are a few of us that have put up to 12 to 15 hours before leaving the first area. This is obviously those of us that value 100% completion, but that should give you an idea of just how addicting the gameplay is. None of us wanted to rush the story or gameplay, and we never found ourselves getting tired of this gameplay loop, despite our organization racking up likely close to 1,000 hours between all of us so far. I honestly don't think I could ever say that I would sit on the route to the first gym in any other Pokemon game for 15 hours because the gameplay loop wasn't that enjoyable. But it's a testament to Legends Arceus game design that they can keep us engaged that long in what should just be the opening hours worth of content for the game. Creating a world like this took some doing, and it was definitely a huge risk. But it paid off in the end with the rave reviews and praise from fans that the game has gotten since it was released. Throwing a feather ball and hitting a flying Gyarados or Togekiss, or sneaking up on a sleeping Chansey and hitting it with a heavy ball are both so rewarding in their own ways. One requires precision and timing to make sure you hit your target, while the other requires patience and stealth to sneak up on the Pokemon before it notices you and either fights or flees. However, figuring out how to deal with each Pokemon with each environmental setup the game gives you is like solving a bunch of miniature puzzles that feel so good every time. And encountering the new Alpha Pokemon, larger Pokemon with boosted stats that can smack even the most prepared trainer down, can often lead to a challenging battle in the middle of what may just be a normal Pokemon hunt for the player, giving a new layer of complexity to how you might approach certain areas of the map when Alphas spawn consistently. And let's just talk about the new mass outbreak system for a second. I love this system. Shiny Pokemon have always been a slog to get, but it's for a good reason. They're a trophy. They show your dedication to hunting that specific Pokemon and partially display your luck. And while there have been changes to shiny hunting over the years, it felt like the best we were ever going to get was the Let's Go system that Game Freak didn't seem to want to bring back, where you could increase your odds by simply encountering the same Pokemon over and over. But here, with the mass outbreak system, we have the single best shiny hunting method in Pokemon history. Here, when you see a mass outbreak, which can feature just about any Pokemon that wanders the open world, including their alpha forms, you get a boosted rate on your shiny luck. I've seen so many other members of 5-9 showing off their shinies, and I've even managed to grab a handful myself because the rates are so good, around 1 in 150 during a mass outbreak. You're all but guaranteed to get one from one of these outbreaks sooner or later. This makes shinies so much more plentiful and rewards a more casual approach. With the rates present in Legends Arceus, dedicated players could feasibly catch one of every Pokemon as a shiny variant, if they put in enough time. And frankly, that's a pretty fantastic way for Game Freak to reward hardcore fans. All in all, Pokemon Legends Arceus has some places where it falls short of expectations, but with the gameplay blowing everyone away, it's easy for me to recommend that any fan of the franchise pick the game up. Once you get battling and catching Pokemon and engross yourself in the gameplay loop, it's really hard to pay attention to anything else. You just want to get past it so that you can get back out there and catch more Pokemon. Game Freak announced that there were over 6 million copies of the game in the first week, and I'd say it's well deserved. Hopefully we can see a refinement of the gameplay systems and improvements to the weaker areas like the story delivery and the graphics. Once that happens, we will have a perfect 10 out of 10 on our hands. But right now, they'll have to settle for us just calling this one legendary. How are you finding yourself enjoying Pokémon Legends Arceus? What shiny Pokémon have you caught so far? Are you interested in future games being in this style, or do you want them to go back to the traditional style of Pokémon game? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for all the news, reviews, and more from us here at 5-9 Gaming Direct. I'm Christian, aka the PlatinumChin, and this has been the 5-9 Gaming Direct review of Pokémon Legends Arceus. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.